my friend. He was an older man. And I came in my little pot belly. I was 5'1", believe it or not, little short, fat kid. And I said, like, I want to learn how to change my life. And he goes, well, I have everything here. And this is a day, those of you would not understand, we have these things called cassette tapes were a breakthrough. Before that, it was albums and 8-tracks. We had these little cassette tapes that are really portable. You could listen to them on a little player. You could stick it in your car and play it. There weren't car players in those days, but just you could have a little handheld thing. And in those days, if you wanted to learn something, he had all the best teachers, psychologists, psychiatrists, motivational speakers. But it would be like $300 for 6 cassette tapes and like 3 workbooks. That was the price. And I was making, $40 a week as a janitor. And so I learned that I got to take the money I saved and invest it in the most important investment of all, which is me. Jim Rohn taught me that there is nothing more important than investing in yourself. It's ironic. A few years back when I was interviewing Warren Buffett, and I said, what's the single most important investment you've ever made? And I thought he was going to say Coca-Cola, because I know his investments are Geico. And he goes, Tony, it's what you do. And I said, what do you mean what I do? I do a lot of things. And he said, it's investing in yourself. He said, I went to Dale Carnegie when I was a kid. He said, just a young man. And without the ability to learn how to communicate, all my other ideas would have been a waste. I wouldn't be who I am today. He said, and by the way, people talk about inflation, worried about inflation. Inflation, whatever percentage, 8, 9, 10%, less, more, who cares? As long as you become productive, inflation doesn't mean anything, right? If you become better, stronger, smarter, and what he said at the time was, he said, Tony, think about this. No one can tax the improvements you make on yourself. And those are things, when you invest in yourself, those are rewards you get to use, of skills or abilities or emotions or thoughts. You can use those for the rest of your life. And he said, all you got to do is become 10% more productive. Well, people learn how to make twice as much money in the same time, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times, if they find a way to add value. So the first key of the 5 keys I want to give you is you've got to decide every day to feed your mind and strengthen it every day. 30 minutes a day. You can do it with audio. That's what I use most of the time, because I can do it what I call net time, no extra time. I can do it while I'm driving in my car. I can do it while I'm working out. I'm doing it by hopping around the house. And so it allows me to turn like my car into University on wheels. And so I really want to encourage you this. And if you're going to really make long-term change, you need some daily habits. Does that make sense? If you go to a program immersion, you're going to have explosive change. But then you need the daily habits to keep it growing. And those daily habits is that 30 minutes a day. Are you up for it? All right, good. So, by the way, that process of feeding my mind has an accumulative effect, as I mentioned. It stacks and it stacks. Just like if you know finance, if you keep building, you hit a place called critical mass where you have so much value that you're financially free. Well, the same thing happens with your own mind and psychology. But besides feeding and strengthening your mind, the second key you got to do every single day is feed and strengthen your body. And that's not just so you're healthy. It's because your mind and your body work as one. Think about it. Fear is physical. Have you ever been like so uptight, so worried, so stressed, so fearful that it's like you had a hard time swallowing, or you felt that feeling in your gut? Well, that's physical. So is courage. Fear is physical, but courage is also. Think about it. Courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. Like, courage means you're afraid, but you did it anyway. You pushed through it. You found that strength inside yourself. And courage is a habit. It's something to be trained, but you got to be physical to do it. And I learned this from my teachers, not only Jim Rohn, but I really learned this when I started studying neurolinguistic programming, NLP, with the co-founder John Grinder. He taught me that the way you use your body completely wires the way your emotions work as well. So while you're feeding your mind, you got to strengthen that body. Now, some of you know I have a daily discipline, and the first thing I do each day is I jump in this freezing cold water. I'm fortunate enough to have multiple homes, and in each of those homes, I do that. And the water is 56 degrees. At my place in Sun Valley, Idaho, I just had some of my platinum partners there, and we had a party that night. We all walked through the snow and jumped into the freezing water and got out. Now, this is not designed to be torture. Well, number one, it has a huge physical effect on your body. It instantly changes the blood flow through your entire body, moves the lymph in your body. So it's really powerful. And it never feels good going in. I've never had a day where I was like, I can't wait to go in the cold water. Never, right? But I do it every day, and I don't hesitate. Why? Because I'm training my brain not only to change my body, but to be in charge of my own mind. Right? By using my body, I'm training my brain to say, there's no hesitancy. I don't negotiate with myself. I don't go, well, in a minute when I'm ready, or maybe tomorrow. It's just like, when I say go, we go. And I've done that so often that my nervous system, when I say I'm going to make something happen, it doesn't hold back. It just knows I mean it, and we go for it. So that's just one daily discipline. But maybe it's a workout for you, or maybe it's just something you do. It doesn't have to be like your 30-minute, 40-minute, hour workout. Maybe that's a few days a week, whatever you do for working out. But it's something you can do for as little as a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It could be a super strong walk or a nice sprint or in the freezing water or lifting some weights. Something where you have to push yourself beyond what you're comfortable with. Because every time you do that, you build mental, emotional, spiritual muscle, not just physical muscle. Because the mind and body work together. So come up with a daily practice that you're going to do. Something that be really brief, but it's designed to snap you into the strongest state, put you in a state where you push through limitation and fear, because that's the only thing that stops us. Right? We can all get through anything. It's the, I know achievers aren't fearful, they just get stressed, right? But stress is the achiever word for fear. When you're stressed about something, I'm stressed about getting this done. Why? Well, if I don't get it done, it'll fall apart. Well, what if it falls apart? Well, then it'll fail. What if it fails? Then I'm a failure. Forget all that. If you feed your mind every single day, just 30 minutes, and you give yourself something, 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, every day, at least 6 days a week, physical, where you're pushing through, where you feel that blood pump and that strength, I'm telling you, it'll change your life more than anything else. And by the way, these are the 5 things I did not only when I first was kicked out of my house, but I did this again in 2008 when the world financial crisis hit, and I had all these companies, and many of them looked like they're going to go bankrupt. Because overnight, the government wasn't supplying money like they did after COVID. It was just a total upside down of the world. So if you remember that year. And fortunately, none of the companies went under, but it was unbelievably stressful. So I did the same thing. I started feeding my mind. I made my body strong. I went back to these same fundamentals. Key number 3, real quick. You need to find yourself some great role models. Role models make your dreams real. And a role model is not a perfect person. When I was growing up, the biggest thing that seemed to be the problem in my family was money. One of the reasons I feed 100 million people a year, and I've already fed over 1 billion people through Feeding America, now I'm working on my 100 billion meal challenge. It's not because I'm such a good person. I love to say that. It's I know what it feels like to suffer, and I don't want anybody else to suffer. And so I want to find answers. And early on in my life, my mom kept divorcing fathers of mine. And it was always, we had no money. So I figured money is what destroys relationships. You've got to have abundance. And of course, later on in life, I realized that if my family had money, my parents still would have broken up. It was more than just money. But when money isn't handled, when it's a challenge, it can affect your health, it can affect your relationship, all kinds of things. So I decided I was going to master money. In order to do that, I needed some role models because it seemed impossible to me. Because there was no one in my family or extended family that had done well financially. No one. I had no reference for that. I only read about rich people and things like that. And many people around me had all these judgments about it. And I was like, well, they can't be that bad a person if they built companies and businesses and employed people and provide scholarships and everything else. And so I started to dig, again, by reading. That was my way of leaving the limited world I was in. And then I went to say, who are role models I could study? And so I found Sir John Templeton, and he wasn't Sir when he started, he was just John Templeton. He from humble roots, but he was a man who became a self-made billionaire, the first self-made billionaire by investing, starting with nothing. And the way he did it is his parents taught him 2 things. Number 1, you're going to save 50% of all you earn. Now, when you teach a kid to do that when they're a kid, they develop the habits, and he managed to do that. Today, people would say, well, that's impossible. Nothing's impossible. But the most important thing they taught him was the psychology. This is what I learned from him. I got a chance to study him. And then when I was 30 years old, I got to meet him, interview him. And then I did one of the last interviews before he died, about 4 days before he died. So I got to know the man well. And he's a beautiful man who not only was very wealthy, a billionaire, but he was a man who donated so much money and time and energy to spiritual practices. He donated more than a Nobel Prize for his Templeton Prize that's still out there for people to make the biggest difference spiritually, regardless of what the religion is. And so, a beautiful man. But the bottom line is, his family taught him, and he learned that you need to know that the worst times don't last forever. No, everything is cyclical. It's like seasons. There's winters, and then winter's followed by springtime. After the worst night, you have a daytime, right? After all the horrible things, beauty happens. That's the cycle of life. And then things will go easy when it's springtime. And then it's kind of a hot summer to test you. And then there's a great fall where you get rewarded. And then there's a winter again. That's the way season works. And that's what happens within our lives. And so they taught him you're going to make all your money if you keep your head straight during times of maximum pessimism. When everybody's pessimistic, you can take a small amount of money and earn an enormous amount because you can invest in things. When things are going really well, people want more than their house is worth. They want more than their business is worth. When things are going through the floor and everybody thinks it's the end of the world, it's never the end of the world. It just seems like it. It never lasts. Like I said, no war lasts forever. No recession or depression lasts forever in history. No pandemic lasts forever. What may last longer than you want, but not forever. And now on the other side is beautiful times. And so he learned to do that. And I learned from him, and it became a role model. So he showed me there was a way, starting with nothing, that I could add value to people's lives, and I could also learn to be an investor, and I could grow. So role models aren't perfect, and you might want several, and you're not looking for perfection. Study what they do. Some people are great in their business, terrible with their kids. Don't model that. Find somebody who's great with their kids and model them. That's where the 6 less leaves clues comes. Okay, quickly. Number 4, I said I'd do these fast. Number 4 is you really want to find yourself in a place where you get yourself to no longer just think, but you take action. Like if someone said to you, I know this self-made billionaire who has spent 30 years of their life studying how to improve businesses or improve their life, or I know this person who's lost 40 pounds and kept it off for 10 years, and they're willing to share with you exactly what they did. Well, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you take advantage of it? You and I would, but most people don't. And you and I invest in ourselves. Most people won't. They say, well, I don't have the money, I don't have the time. They come up with every reason. But one of the things I learned early on is there's no excuse for not taking action. That if you want to be rewarded in this life, when an opportunity shows up, grab it by the hair. Don't let it go. Not every opportunity is going to be great. But if you don't take advantage, if you don't say there's a reason this is in front of me right now and I got to do something with it, then it just becomes knowledge, it becomes interesting, and your life doesn't change. Action, massive action is what changes your life. And some people are afraid to take action because they go, I don't know the right thing to do. Well, it's better to take action and see whether it works or not. And if it doesn't, try something different than to sit here and just contemplate what you want to do in the future. So one of the great things I got from Jim Rohn was really the importance of action. If you're not sure where to do something, find a role model, find out what they did first, do the same thing. If you don't know where to start, throw the rock up where it lands, talk to the next person who walks by. You're the first person after the rock, I got to ask you something, right? Anything to get momentum going, but massive action is the cure-all. And here's the final step, real fast. And that is, you've got to make sure that if you want an extraordinary life, a life that's meaningful, a life where you're proud, a life where you feel a sense of grace, yes, you must grow. That's what all these other things make us do. But also you must give. And it's not a must give, because when you grow, you want to give. When you grow, you have the gift of something to give someone that's valuable. And early in my life, I realized, my God, there's certain areas of life that really matter. And most people major in minor things. You know what I mean? They know more about some celebrity's sex life than they know about their own mind, their body, their emotions, their relationships, their business, their career, their spiritual part of their life. And so I said, those are the areas that matter, right? It's your body, it's your emotions, it's a sense of meaning in life, it's relationships. That's where all the joy and happiness comes from. It's your career or your work, or hopefully it's your mission, your calling. It's really mastering your finances so you're free. And it's being able to celebrate and contribute that makes life so meaningful. And if you really focus on those areas, I decided that's what life's about. And I want to learn from the very best in every one of those areas. But then also, a lot of people say, well, I got to work on me. And then you get trapped in yourself. So you got to balance that by giving back. And a lot of people, I have a friend, Mike Keys, who I've known for 44 years, I think. We both went to Jim Rohn's seminar back when I was 17. He was, I think, 23 at the time. And we were both broke. He was a little less broke than I am. He could pay for the hotel room. And the seminar back in those days was, it was just, what was it, a 3-day seminar, 3.5-day seminar, all day, all night, showing you leadership skills, management, time management, all these different tools. And I had to borrow $1,200 to go there. It would be like $12,000 today if you look at inflationary dollars. And went to a bank, didn't have the right ability to do it, convinced them to loan me the money, took $1,200. It was such a huge investment, man. When I was in that seminar, Mike and I met, and Mike let me stay in his room because I would have been sleeping in my car otherwise, because literally I took every penny I had to go to the seminar. But when I was in the seminar, because I invested so much, it's like I didn't miss the thing. I didn't go to pee. I just sat there. If he said the, I wrote the down. In fact, at one point I found that every word was worth like 3 cents. I was not going to miss anything. But you know what's so interesting is both of us grew like crazy. And the other day, Mike was telling me he was on an airplane and somebody was reading one of my books in his Life Force. And he was sitting beside him, and the guy looked over and said, hey, have you seen this guy? Have you ever heard about this guy, Tony Robbins? And he goes, I think I heard a little about it. Tell me about it. He goes, wow, he's amazing. He's got these tools, and I've learned these things that can change my body and my mind. And he's really philanthropic also. He does all these great things. And he said, but you know, of course, he's rich, so that's easy. And Mike said, really, you think he does that just because he's rich? He said, what would you say if I told you I'd known him since he was 17 years old? And I can remember he was 17, he had no money, and he took the little bit of money he had and went out and fed 2 families for Thanksgiving. He said, what if I told you the next year he did 4 and then 8? And now you read about him doing 100 million meals a year, 1 billion meals. It's like, you know, the thing what Tony would say to you, and it is what I say to all of you, is if you won't give a dime out of a dollar, you're sure as heck not going to give 1 million out of 10 million or 100 million out of 1 billion. It's not going to happen. But there's something more magical. It's not about the money. I remember I was interviewing Sir John Templeton, and I was asking, what's the secret to wealth? And he said, you teach it, Tony. I've heard this many times. He said, well, I teach a lot of things again, you know, just like Warren had said to me. I said, well, but what aspect of what I teach? He said, Tony, he said, it's really what you talk about of adding value. But what makes you really wealthy is gratitude and appreciation. He said, you know, if you can give when it's uncomfortable, he goes, that's where you're going to grow. He goes, I don't know a single person who practiced tithing, giving 10% of what they earn, who hasn't become wealthy within 5 to 10 years. Not a single person in my lifetime. And he goes, I did it. And he said, but most people say they're going to do that when it's comfortable. They're going to do it when it's ready. And he said, the other part you need besides the giving is just the gratitude. He goes, if you got $1 billion and you're angry all the time, your life is angry. But if whatever you have, you're really grateful for it every single day, your family, your health, your vitality, whatever, your opportunities. He said, then you're really a wealthy man. And I can remember I had done this, thank God, so I could relate to this at the time when I was really struggling. I'd gone to work with Jim Rohn, I succeeded, and then had a real challenging time. Anytime you start a new business, that tends to happen. You have some learnings. And I was feeling just beaten to the ground and exhausted. And I was like, God, why is this not working? I've given my all. And I was focused on me. And I realized it's because I'm focused on me now. I started out being focused on everybody else. Now I'm focused on what I'm not getting. And I remember I pulled over on the side of the road and I wrote, I still have to this day this journal, a full page, a written journal. I wrote, the secret to living is giving. I started crying. I started to change my life. And a few weeks later, I had almost no money. And without telling you the whole story right now, I gave away the last, I don't know, $21, and change, whatever it was that I had, to a person that needed it. And I wasn't going to have money for food. I wasn't even worried about it. It was this weird thing. It's suddenly, by giving, I was freed. I was freed from scarcity. You know, I know people that are billionaires that are still scarce, meaning they still worry about stuff. They have more money than they could ever spend. Because you don't ever get beyond scarcity, you start beyond it. It's a decision. So if you can, what I'd encourage you to do is go help somebody who's worse off than you. If you think your life's in a tough place, find somebody tougher and help them. Or take your kids and go to a food shelter and feed people for even an hour once a month. If you do it, it'll change your life forever. Because number one, it'll remind you how lucky you are. And number two, it'll remind you that you're here to give. And when you're a giver instead of a taker, boy, life becomes so much more beautiful. And these 5 simple little things, you know, every day, feeding and strengthening your mind. 30 minutes a day, audio or reading, but going and getting something conscious, not the crap that comes to you on your phone, not clickbait, not someone's going to pull you down a rabbit hole on some social media element. Something conscious that's going to make you grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, give you new skills. And then if every day you do something to strengthen and feed that body of yours, to make it stronger, something that pushes it, even just for a few minutes. And by the way, you know, one of the things you can do also each day, I do, is called priming. And if you want, I'll give you a little gift. Go to TonyRobbins.com/priming, PRIMING. And there's a 10-minute process I do every single day to prepare my mind for the day. It's called priming. I encourage you to do it. But if you do that, and you do that with your body, and then you find some great role models that'll help you make your goals real, and then you take massive action, keep changing your approach, and you give much more than you expect to receive, it's impossible. You know, It doesn't always come back to the person you gave to, by the way. Well, you're busy noticing they're not giving, and someone back here is giving you something you're not noticing, you know? It's just the beautiful cycle of life. So I hope that you'll look at these as 5 daily habits. Because when people ask me, like, what do you do to stay in this place? Well, it's not like I went to a seminar once, 45 years ago, 46 years ago, and then my life was perfect. It'd be like saying I worked out once and now I'm fit for life. No. If you have a great life, you have daily practices, right? So here's what I do. 1, people in my seminars know this. I always teach on the last day. I, once or twice a year, do some form of immersion seminar, somewhere. I've done crazy things. I had no sleep, no time, but I lock these in once a year. Something's going to make me grow. One of the more intense ones was I went for 7 days. They put these electrodes on your head and measure you, and I go for 12 hours in a day in this dark room so I could train my mind to use alpha thinking. Alpha thinking puts you in a gorgeous state where you're able to find great solutions. It's part of your brain. I do these things still. So I do something once or twice a year like that. And then the most important thing I do is I have coaches. In my case, I have 4 of them. They're all 18 to 20 years my senior. They're all geniuses in their right mind. Because even though I know a ton, we all need somebody we can bounce off of, just briefly. Once a month or twice a month, 20, 30 minutes, but where you're being held accountable, but also where you're learning from someone who's already done it. Which is what I've learned for over my life. That's how you keep making major progress. But the most important thing is a daily practice. It's making sure you have something you're doing every day that you do that makes you stronger, wiser, more loving, more passionate, more alive, more healthy, and more on target for what matters. Because otherwise, the world will pull your attention. Because remember, we don't experience life. We experience the life we focus on. And what's wrong is always available, and there's someone going to show it to you. But so is what's right. What's right is always available. Solutions are always available. But if you have these kind of daily practices, you'll create that momentum. So I hope these 5 things. Are you willing to do them?
Yes.
20, 30 minutes a day, no less than 20, 30 minutes a day, reading or audio. 2, at least 5, 10 minutes, ideally 15 to 20 minutes to get your body strong every day. A simple practice that you're going to do. 3, find those role models and study them. 4, put a massive action plan together and do the first thing. If it doesn't work, just change your approach. Doesn't work, change again. Find a good role model and you know the shortcut of how to get there quicker. And then finally, give more than you expect to receive. All right? So listen, here's my announcement. I was thinking a lot about reading some of you, and especially some of you that went to the challenge. You got this great momentum. And that was January. Now some time has gone by, and guess what? There's a momentum starts to drop a little bit. It's natural. That's why you got to retrain. It's like building a muscle. And so I thought about, for a lot of people, it's like trying to go to an event seems like a lot. Now you can do them in your home, and we've made the price point so much lower because you don't have to travel and hotels and things of that nature. But I want to do something where no one's time. And so for years, people have said, Tony, I put all this stuff for free on YouTube, and people listen to it every day. But the challenge is it's just random, something to inspire you. And I think inspiration is great. That's why I put it out there for people. But I've spent my life building systems to get results. You don't get results just by just being inspired. It's a good first step. But, being pumped up is wonderful. But, an excited chicken with their head cut off is not going to do well. We need very specific strategies to change our finances. Very specific strategies to move up in our careers or in building our businesses. Very specific strategies to transform our energy and our health and our vibrancy. Very specific things to make your relationships not just okay and good, but passionate, right? And so for my life, what I've done is figure out who are the best in the world and study them to figure out what are they doing different than me or you or anyone else, and then put that into what I call an e-cubing format, a format where it's so entertaining, you're engaged, but you also are getting the second E, the best education, the tools that really work, and then while you're in state, getting you to do some small step. If you do a small step every day, you get momentum. You have to take one giant step, people tend to be overwhelmed. They're afraid of failing or it's not going to work. So I've built these systems over the years, and I've got literally hundreds of hours of programs on your body, on learning to master your time, on learning how to master your relationship, on what to do to make change, lasting change. People say, I lost 100 pounds, 10 pounds, 10 times, same 10 pounds. Now I'm talking about lasting change, where you make the change and it stays. And so those programs over the years have been built, and they're each about $300 each. There's more than a dozen of them, 13 or 14. So here's what I've done. I decided, and people want me to coach them. That's not practical. I coach maximum 7 people a year. I charge $1 million each to coach. I only coach them 3 times a year for about 90 minutes individually. But I'm able to produce great value. And I'm one of the people I've coached now for, 23 years, to give you an idea in that area. So here's what I've created. I've created something called the Inner Circle. As people said for years, could you put something together to make all this available? And here's what it is, really simple. I've taken all of the programs, the audiovisual programs that I've built, and the systems of change, and put them so you have available 24/7, 365 on an app. So no matter where you are, whenever you need it, I'm there with the tools you need. And so you can have that daily practice, something you do 20, 30 minutes every day to give you an idea. That valuable. And then the second thing I did is really me joining you, just like this, to do a session and do Q&A about what's happening in the world, what's happening in your lives, and it's pretty phenomenal. And then finally, you're part of a community of people, of like-minded people that are committed to taking their life to the next level. So it's called the Tony Robbins Inner Circle. And here's the cool thing. It's got literally thousands of dollars of the value in it of different programs that I built over the years, and the coaching and me. And the whole program is literally, so no one gets left behind, it's $97 a month, literally. And if you want to, and you pay for the year in advance, I think you save 33% or 3 months or something like that. They'll tell you on the screen. But if this appeals to you, if you'd like to keep the momentum going and you want a program that's going to give you the answers for each area of your life, be part of an incredible community and have coaching all at a price point that's lower than anything we've done before, and decide to join Inner Circle. It's $97 a month or whatever the amount is, paid in full there. You save 3 months or 33%. We'd love to have you. So I hope these 5 keys are valuable. If you decide not to be our Inner Circle, please apply those 5. And I hope that you decide to join me and that we can have an ongoing relationship like this. And I just want to thank you for your time. And I look forward to seeing you soon. And I'm going to throw you back to our team here, saying you all my best. Live strong and live passionate.
Give it up for Tony Robbins. Yes. And give it up for yourselves. You guys were amazing. I'm going to take just a few minutes here to share how to get inside the Inner Circle. Who's excited to hear about it? Make some noise. What is the Inner Circle? At its core, it is the absolute best way to guarantee that you do not fall off the path. Who here already is inside the Inner Circle? Write me in the chat if you are. It is a phenomenal community. It's a space to make sure that we are not left behind. And think of it as the greatest self-development and growth training on the planet. It's people like you and I coming together to go deep on Tony's teachings and to have proximity to Tony himself. So what do you get? Make sure to jot this down, put that pen to paper. First and foremost, and the main reason most people sign up, is you get live mentoring with Tony 2 times a year. And this is an interactive 90-minute session where Tony joins you from his living room. And he goes through a teaching on the most present issue that we're facing right now in our lives. He has the ability to pull you up one-on-one to chat with you as well. Remember, this is a live interactive session. Tony is there in his studio at home, and it's you and everyone else inside the Inner Circle coming together for an interactive session. And our next one is coming up very soon, May 7th. Second part of what you get are the training courses. You have access to Tony's entire live training courses. I mean, think about this. Over 5 decades of doing this, Tony has developed a course on just about anything that you can think of, really. I mean, physical health, sales and influence, time management, relationships, finances, the list goes on and on. So in your net time, you can just pop in a training program and let Tony guide you. Like Tony said, this is a university on wheels. You can do this from your car. And all of these training courses, they are valued at over $2,500 each. But when you join Inner Circle, you get it for just $97 a month. So think of these trainings as the Christmas presents. They're the trainings that you get on top of going live with Tony 2 times a year. So all you have to do is just go right to Tony'sInnerCircle.com, and you can sign up and join us right now. One of the best parts about the Inner Circle is joining this beautiful community of people. We host weekly community connect calls where we have a world-class facilitator to talk through the featured breakthrough program of the month. Think of it like a book club, but instead of a book, it's Tony's life-changing programs. I mean, there is nothing like it. If you are getting excited, make some noise. It really is such a phenomenal community of people. So why did Tony create this? He created this so no one is left behind. And his mission is to ease, and you need access. The ease, all you have to do is schedule those 2 live interactive calls with Tony, schedule them on your calendar, and you have access. You have a price point that cannot be beat. Thousands of dollars worth of value. You get instant access for just $97 a month. And if you want to go all in and you want to do the full year, commit to the full year, you get 3 months free, which is incredible. And when you join for the full year, you get a very special gift. And let me tell you something, people are obsessed with this, as am I. Oh yeah, the 2026 Live Lucky hat, baby. How cute is this? I'm obsessed. Obsessed. Okay, so when you join for the full year, the first 1,000 people get the hat, and trust me, this is gonna go fast. Look at this. It's so beautiful. Just hurry. Go to Tony'sInnerCircle.com. Few questions I want to answer. Can I try it out? Is there a refund? You can take the Inner Circle for a 30-day spin, and if you don't love it, you will get 100% refund. Yep. I said that. I also want to remind you that May 7th is our next live session with Tony, so it is coming up. So if you're thinking about it, say yes, join us right now. Go to Tony'sInnerCircle.com. The next question is this the best offer? The absolute best way to go about this, the best offer is doing the full year where you get the 3 months free and the hat.
Since when did we have this
I'm obsessed
cup?
with it. Next question, can I join from anywhere? Absolutely, this is worldwide. Think of it like this. This is a commitment between you and you. This is you saying, I am ready to gain the tools, the insights, the knowledge, have the access to go further, faster. And I believe with all my heart that this is the space to be able to do that, the Inner Circle. So if you know that you're all in, write all in the chat right now. Oh yeah.
Oh, yesterday.
You're all in. See you May 7th. We'll all be there with Tony and our hats on. Vibing, jamming. Remember, this is an event-only offer. So we're going to give you some time right now to get enrolled. And let's give a round of applause for those of you who have already signed up for Inner Circle. We're so excited that you're joining us. We're going to see you May 7th. The rest of you, go get enrolled right now. I know you're thinking about it. Say yes to yourself. Give yourself this gift. And as Tony says, make your life a masterpiece. See you on the inside.
Hey guys, what an amazing session. I am here if you have any questions. Let's see, Jenny.